Hello, TLK fans community. This is Brian. Thanks for joining me for another cast interview. Today, it's none other than Eliza Butterworth. So, really excited to have her. Um, we're going to hear all about, her views on some of the questions that were submitted uh, from the members of the group, the Last Kingdom fans on Facebook. Uh, a lot of you submitted questions, so I'm going to try to get through those, but we have limited time. So I will start with our sponsor questions first. And our sponsors for this interview, first time having sponsors, by the way. So this is cool. So our first sponsor is Big Boy Media Group. And that is the company I'm partnered with. And so we're in the Big Boy Media Group studio right now. And we got our psych wall put up. I don't know if you remember last time, it was just in construction. So we got that put up now and all lit. This was how it was supposed to be for the last couple of interviews, but last minute work calls, so got in the way. But, anyways, um, Big Boy Media Group is one of our sponsors. We've got uh, Christina Marie Gentile, and she's also a member of the Last Kingdom fans community and the group and the page. So, in case you didn't know, we have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. The page is TLK Fans Community, and the group is the Last Kingdom Fans. So, if you're not a member or you're not a follower, please follow. So that way, and please watch the content because that way we can get like advertising revenue and help us fund more projects like this because this is a lot of fun. And also, we have Cheryl Parkman, who is one of the sponsors, another member of the group and the page. So we appreciate all of you for helping out with this interview, and your questions are first in line. So, anyways, I think that's all for now, and let's bring in Eliza. So, hey, Eliza. Hey, how are you? I'm so glad to have you.
Hey, Brian, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so awesome. How was your day?
Been very good and enjoying sunshine in London and had an amazing day. Had an amazing day.
Wow, there's
Thank
sunshine there, huh?
you. I was going to say you have a very cool background. I'm loving the purple and the flora and fauna behind you.
Yeah,
Super
this
cool.
this is we were supposed to do this for the last couple interviews with Yep and Adrian, and then my partner he got called out. He's got his fancy schmancy camera over here. It's like a FX9, and
Wow.
I started doing this in my living room. So now,
So funky. I love it. And the candle, nice touch.
oh, thanks. Yeah.
Bit of flair.
So yes. All right. So since we're on a time crunch now,
Mm.
I'll just jump right in because I had a few questions. Are you? You're not on Facebook, right?
I actually do have Facebook, but I haven't used it in years. Honestly, Brian, it's just enough to navigate Instagram at
Right.
this point.
That's
I
why I
don't
don't.
really use it. I used to use it.
Yeah. That's why I don't use Instagram because I'm so busy on Facebook. So
I think you're kind of a Facebook person or an Instagram person, or you're a Twitter person, and I'm not a Twitter person at all. It's far too intellectual for me. I just like looking at pictures of food
yeah,
and dogs.
I haven't got a Twitter either yet. So
Oh, it's too much. It's amazing in some ways, but it's too much. Too much reading.
right. Um. All right. So if you haven't been to the group, you haven't seen the group, right?
I haven't, and I need to. I really need to. I've heard there's a lot of love and support on there, which I'm just honestly so thankful for.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody being such a lovely support of the Last Kingdom. Can't believe it. It's so lovely.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here.
Hmm.
So yeah, I started that group a while back, and it just blew up, and I never expected to be doing interviews with cast members. So this is all kind of surreal for me. I could hardly believe it's happening, but Uh,
Oh, Brian, you're so sweet. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, and passing the love right back on. And I'm just glad you enjoy The Last Kingdom. It's a show that I think really kind of got to people in the last couple of years. We were quite a sort of more underground show, more of like a hidden gem. We started on BBC Two, so the only access you kind of had to it is if you had BBC America, if you were in the States, or if you kind of watched it. I remember it was Thursdays at 9 p.m. on BBC Two. That was our slot, and it did well, but it wasn't kind of what it has become now. And then we were so lucky that Netflix came into the picture for season three, so it felt very different. The budget got bigger, and it felt like the kind of quality shifted into something else. And I just guess it inspired the actors as well to make even more of this amazing storyline. And the scripts are incredible, and we have seriously one of the best casts, ranging from loads of awesome British actors to Scandi actors, American actors. So it's a wonderful pool of people. So I'm really glad, yeah, that people love it. And I think it also boomed through lockdown. I've had a lot of messages, people saying it's their go-to show, watching it with their families, in lockdown. So yeah, it's nice to know that had an impact on people. Yeah.
mm, very nice.
Yes.
So I have a question for you from one of the members of the group. Her name is Christina Marie Gentile. She's
Oh,
she's
I think I've met Christina. I think if it's the Christina I'm thinking of, I've met Christina, which is amazing. If I have, then shout out to Christina. I'm pretty sure that's the Christina I know very well. So
really
go on. Sorry, Brian. Yes, I've met some amazing, amazing women, especially at the Last Kingdom conventions that they do in like America. We've had some in Paris. We've had like online ones all over the years. And if this is the Christina I'm thinking, then hey.
okay, cool. Well, all right. So, anyways, she asks a few questions. The first one is,
Mhm.
what was it like to play a woman in an era of male dominant leadership over women? Nice
Wow,
and
that's an amazing
light
question.
question for you to start with.
That's a line. That's a good starter question. I mean, it's that is an amazing question. I think for me, it wasn't necessarily about distinguishing between the powers of men and women necessarily. I feel like what was amazing about the scripts of The Last Kingdom is they very much made the women just as powerful as the men because they are, and it wasn't a sense of like, oh, you women, what are you talking about? It was more like, okay, we're all on the same side here. We're all trying to get either, England to be made, this amazing vision that King Alfred had to have one united land called England, or you are on the kind of Danish side and you are fighting in battles as a woman as well, being one of the Dane leaders. And so what I loved about The Last Kingdom is all across the board, the women were so powerful. And these are real people. Most of them are real people. Ellsworth is real. Ethelfled, her daughter, was real. Ethelfled even became the leader of Mercia. And to this day, her there's a stained glass window in the village of Tamworth where her bones were actually found. They're obviously 1,000 years old, and she was the leader of this incredible community. So I love that the show shines a light on that rather than going, oh, look at the difference between men and women. It's not about that at all. It's going, wow, you're all awesome. So I feel like the show just did an amazing job of depicting equality. However, I can only imagine that in those times it was, even, tougher than anything we are kind of showing within the show about you know gender politics and women's rights. So for sure it was kind of tough to sometimes get your head around certain things, but at the same time I think the scripts did a wonderful job of always pulling in the force of the female characters and their intellect and their power and their ferocity, across all the whole board, whether it was if you were a breeder and you were fighting, in the Danish camps, or whether you were Ethelfled, who was also on the battlefields, or Hild, who was like a warrior nun. Kind of she's biting on all angles. So I just think they did an amazing job with that. But I do think that is an amazing question, and something that we all of the women in the show reflected on whilst playing these characters is how do we make sure we honor the women, but as you say, how it would have been in the times. And there's a couple of lines within, I think it was season 4, where I sort of say, Lady Elsa says, I'm here at this Witten. And, don't you think I would love to tell these men how I truly feel? Don't you think I would love to, shout from the rafters that this and that isn't right, but I can't? I can only do what I can do. And in that vein, I will be the most powerful in my particular arc. So I remember thinking, gosh, that really sort of speaks volumes of, the kind of trappings of women at that time as well.
Mm.
So I hope that answered that question. That was
Yeah.
kind of a very roundabout way of being like, the script's amazing. And also, playing a woman of that era, is astonishing. And I can't even imagine the feats they had to go through just to be, just to purely be. So I'm glad the Last Kingdom got to honor all the power that these women also possessed. And it's really, really lovely.
Awesome. All right.
Yes.
So she also asked, was it hard seeing yourself transitioning from young wife to older woman?
I love that part of it, Brian, because I love playing more of a transformation character. And obviously, we'll be talking to the phenomenal Pete Rogers, who is the director of Little Brown Bird. And there's very big similarities for me and parallels between Lady Elswith and a character such as Kate in Little Brown Bird, because they're older characters than I am. But I always felt like I have such an affinity with playing older characters. And I'm not sure why. I think because I was an only child, I grew up with a lot of older people around me. I didn't have siblings. So my parents would just have their friends around and I was their friend.
Oh,
So I
really?
feel like I've got an
Same as
affinity
me.
with, yeah, same as you, Brian. That's so lovely. And so in a sense, that gives us a kind of almost like a premature maturity in a sense. And I feel like I can get into the minds of people that are maybe a bit older, and also have such a respect and appreciation for people, my elders, and what they've been through. So in a sense, I loved getting into the shoes of Lady Elsworth and Kate, because both of them are very powerful figures, but they have big, big hearts. Both have been through a lot. And with Lady Elswith in particular, she's a mother. I'm not a mother yet. I'd love to be one day, but there's this kind of this element of going, gosh, I'm not a mother, but what does it feel like? I wonder what it would be like to have such and such happen to your children or your grandchildren even, because there was a point where it was season 4 when they're like, so you're not just a mother now, you're a grandmother. And I was like, oh man, I'm only 25, but okay. But I loved all that because it's the challenge and everything. Yes, I loved transitioning into the older version of Lady Elswith and also the character of Kate, because I think it's also a lot of fun for young actors to play something that is so far removed from them. It feels like more of an acting challenge. There's more to like sink your teeth into. There's more research. There's more physicality development and vocal development and stuff that just makes acting really exciting. So I absolutely loved the element of getting to play her older and see her full arc come to life, so that by season 5, she's a completely changed woman in so many lights as well.
Well, you fooled me, that's for sure. I
Oh,
would have never
thank
guessed
you,
you
Brian.
guys were the same age, you and Millie.
Yes, we were giggling when we first met, Brian, because it was season 2. Millie came into the show, and I was sat next to her in the reader, and I was like, "How old are you?" And she was like, 21. I was like, "I'm 22," and I was like, "I'm playing your mum." She's like, "No way." And then in season 3, Tim, who plays King Edward, came in, who's our son, and he was also like, "What?" And I think he's just a year younger than me. Millie's 6 months younger. But none of that matters, because we all just think the writing is so excellent that it propels us into these characters anyway. The scenes are written so incredibly, such high stakes in The Last Kingdom. Every episode, something crazy is about to go down, and everybody's lives are always at risk. But it's such an intelligently written show too. So all of the different dynamics between characters, or the kind of preamble to the battles, I always love, because I like to see when King Alfred or Uhtred, they break down the logistics of what they're going to do and how they're going to fight for what's theirs. And it's just fascinating. And to think that was all happening, this sort of Viking Saxon era is amazing. But yeah, I love playing old ladies.
Yeah, and you played it really well, and I'm sure you'll be a really great mother too.
Oh, thank you, Brian. So sweet.
All right, so last question from Christina. Did the
Yes.
makeup transformation get harder as the series progressed?
That's also a very brilliant question. Thank you, Christina. I would say yes and no. I think it was there was a battle with, do we make this young actress look like Mrs. Havisham? which is a little bit like too on the nose, too extreme, and we can sort of tell she's not the age we're trying to portray her? Or do we do it so subtly and just allow it to be more in the performance? And because everyone bought it from season one anyway, we were kind of like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll just kind of edge into a little bit of aging rather than like donning like a big grey wig. However, it's I was so gutted. I was going to be in Seven Kings Must Die, but because I was in a different television show, the dates then clashed. But I did actually get my wig fitting for Seven Kings Must Die, and it was a long, long, long grey wig. And I was like, no, now's finally my chance to wear this long grey wig. And unfortunately, because of the schedules and everything and filming abroad, it couldn't happen. So that would have been when I really would have looked completely different. But because of them, not wanting to risk it being too extreme, they were just about putting like, gray hairs, lots of really amazing shadowing that did an awesome job. Also, lighting. I remember speaking to our fantastic DOPs. We had several DOPs throughout the whole show. They would always make sure to light me terribly so that they could have this more like aging effect, which is so smart, because obviously that does so
Right.
much as well. So yeah, so I would say they just did some wonderful subtle tricks throughout the aging, which is really great.
Right. Cool. All right. So Jeanette Berry asks, what was it like working in such cold conditions?
Oh my goodness. Do you know what? It was interesting. I think we went in and out of filming in summers and winters. We actually way preferred, in a sense, filming in the winter because it already added like a fantastic atmosphere.
Hmm.
Because, you would speak outside and your breath would curl and immediately makes it way more like epic and cinematic. And as well, the Vikings are all donned in furs, and that all anyone in the army kind of scenes are in like leather things, and so carrying like big shields. So I think for them they preferred the winter because by the time the summer came around, and you're all packed in like a bessian battle scene, and there's hundreds of people and everyone's in leather, just like and you're always outside. I think that's a lot harder. But for me, I just wore kind of what I would call like a Hessian sack, like in and like day in day out, in no matter what season we were in, and it was just fun because I just have like a floaty, lovely dress. But I think I preferred the winters weirdly because of the initial like atmosphere that you get from all the everything that the characters do. But the summers are obviously beautiful and fun, and we filmed in Budapest, so that's gorgeous, such an amazing place to film. We filmed the entire 5 seasons and the film there in a place called Gobel Yarash, and we had our own set all built there, so it just looked absolutely epic. And for different like sets in terms of like forests and stuff, they would source them, and it was
Oh,
amazing. But I think the winter made it look more atmospheric.
what was the name of
Yes.
that town again?
Gobble Yarash.
Okay.
Yes, very Hungarian. I
I'm
know.
gonna look that one up.
Don't ask me to spell it because I wouldn't have a clue.
I'm looking that one up.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I'm not even sure if the set is still there anymore because we were told actually before we came in, the set actually belonged to somebody else. And when we say set, it looked completely different. We added to it. We created our own Bebbanburg and our own, Mercia and our own Wessex and all of that. But
So they were all in the
the,
same
the kind of
spot there?
and they're all in the same spot. So it's a really, really good filming location for all kinds of things. And, I always call Budapest like the European Hollywood. So much gets filmed out there. I remember in our second season, we all like saw Matt Damon walking into a hotel. We were like, Matt Damon, because I think he was filming that amazing film set on Mars.
Hmm.
The really amazing one. I've
Yeah,
forgotten the name of it. But yeah,
the last
he was
man on
filming that at
Mars,
the time. Yes,
the
something
Martian.
like that.
I don't know.
The Martian. It's
The
the
Martian.
Martian.
Okay,
The Martian. The Martian. So yes, the winter.
cool. All right. Somebody else asked. I didn't remember who their name was, but it says, "What were you thinking about to get so emotional for the altar scene where you were crying and asking why doesn't he hear me?"
Oh, that's a lovely question. Thank you for that. Do you know what? I think it's also being in that show for it was nearly 8 years. We knew those characters inside and out. So, I'm so lucky that I was doing those more kind of heavy going, emotional, really deep scenes towards the end of the series because I felt like I was not to sound so wishy-washy, but I really knew Elspeth and I was a bit more in her world in a sense, and I could really envision what it could feel like to lose a child. And also draws parallels again with Little Brown Bird. There's some scenes in there which we'll obviously talk about, that are really emotional, and again, it's drawing on a very similar part of me where I luckily haven't been through those particular experiences, but I try to empathize with them. And and it's all in the text as well. Again, the scripts are awesome for both Little Brown Bird and Last Kingdom, in the sense that they give you all that motivation. Certain words are chosen on purpose to bring performances out of actors. And also, yeah, it was actually, as well, this is a really sweet thing. It's the only scene in the entire series of The Last Kingdom where Uhtred and Lady Elswith are alone. Every other scene that they've ever been in a scene together with is either in a Witten scene, or King Alfred is there, or they're somewhere in a forest or something. But this particular scene was just the two of them, and they had both lost somebody that they both equally deeply love. That being, no spoilers, but if anyone's maybe not seen it, don't listen to this bit. But it's Lady Ethelflaed, and that they equally have a huge love for this amazing young woman, and so they can connect with that yeah, with that loss and that grief. And so it's such a beautiful scene. And I knew that. I was thinking, gosh, this is the only time that I've, that Uhtred and Elsa have had this lovely connection. And then from there, she really sort of sees the error of her ways and is totally on his side and can see him more clearly than ever too, which I think is also a really beautiful part of the story. And they carried that through in terms of her even saying she wanted to live at Edinburgh with a room with a sea view, which cracked me up. But yeah, so just drawing on those sort of deeper parts of knowing the character, and yeah, not being not afraid to kind of go there as well with certain scenes. And I love those kinds of scenes. I actually genuinely, as an actor, love seeing scenes that are allowing you to be super emotive. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What did you like or dislike most about your character?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I think I disliked her hairstyle in the first three seasons. Yikes. Pete, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's not a good look.
And that was your
It's,
idea,
well,
right?
it was not my idea. I can tell you straight up, this was the look. I actually remember it super vividly. It was a very cute day. We were in the makeup trailer, and they obviously were first designing the character. What's interesting is it's not just the actor that designs the character. Of course, it first comes from the writer's head, and the producers and everybody on board creatively. And then it comes from the director, and and then it goes obviously to makeup and hair, which is so pivotal. Like, without makeup and hair, I just feel like certain characters wouldn't get their full transformation. They do so much magic in terms of making you feel like you now own this character. You've got the essence of them flowing through your veins. Literally, it's so weird. But like, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you are not you anymore, it does, 80% of the job, I guess. So there they are, like, designing the character, if you like, and they're trying all types of hairstyles, ones that kind of go back like this, or, ones like this. They were like, no, still too young, still too nice. And then Jamie Lee, who was the makeup artist at the time, she just did that so that she could lean over and grab another hair tie. She just was doing that to get my hair kind of out the way. And as she did that, the director Nick Murphy, who's amazing, he's like someone who started The Last Kingdom. He went, oh, wait, and Jamie was looking, at him like, what? And I was looking in the mirror like, no. And Nick was like, yes, that's it. And I was going, oh no. And Jamie went, what, this? And he was like, yeah. Just get the hair tie now. Yeah, put it there. And I was going, like that, like in the mirror, going, what the heck? What do you mean? What is this? I've never seen this hairstyle before. And we tied it in, and they were like, yeah, that's the one. That's it. And therefore, I had this then hairstyle. And luckily, as the seasons went on, it got looser and looser until it kind of became this. Then it became two braids. And then sort of by season 4 and 5, they played with it a bit more to add, that decades had gone by. But I say that's the number one thing I don't like.
So it,
Again,
so
is
it
the
was literally,
initial hairstyle.
so it was literally like tucked,
Oh
clipped
my
right
gosh.
here, not down here.
Exactly. Episode 2 is when me and King Alfred first appear. So episode 1 is all about young Uhtred's life, and then it's like old Uhtred comes in from the end of Ep 1. Bam. Ep 2 is King Alfred and everyone in the Saxon era. And then, yep, this is what I look like. So if anyone goes back to Ep 2 season 1, you're gonna have a right little laugh because it's not a good sight. And then it luckily got a bit more complimentary, but more grey and everything like that. But I love all that kind of stuff. And then the thing I think I love the most about her is her loyalty and her sense of duty. I love that she never gave up on what her husband wanted, to create this vision of England, and she would do anything basically to keep that alive, sometimes to her detriment, because it meant that anyone who she thought got in the way, i.e. Uhtred at the at first, that he was a nuisance and somebody that had to be eradicated. But actually, she, learned to compromise her thoughts and, but she always kept that loyalty. She always kept that drive for, everything that she and her husband wanted and what they saw in the eyes of God, what he wanted. And, there's so many wonderful aspects to her that actually make her really fierce and strong and dutiful, which was really fun to play as well.
Did you want the series to continue, or?
Oh, of course. I wish it could be on like season 57 or something, like, and just go on and on and on. I mean, I would be about 362 years old, but it would have been a lot of fun. And I think we were so, getting into the real meat of our characters, what really made them tick. And I feel like in season 5, especially, and the film is incredible. It's like it's at the absolute crux. Like everybody wants what they want. All the characters are so vivid, the intentions are so clear on all sides, from Danes to Saxons, whether it's in battle or, they're having meetings or, it's about love even. Everybody is just out to get what they want. And I feel like it was just such a lovely show to be on. And, we'll always be such a family. So that aspect is, sad not to have that anymore. But yeah.
So, like, if like, would you like to still see it continue somehow, like spin-offs or something, or?
It could. I'd love like Ailsworth and Hild to get their own like warrior nun ninja spin-off or something where the two of them are like, yeah, and then they just go into battle and do some crazy stuff. That would be a lot of fun. I'd also love Ailsworth and Uhtred to get their own spin-off, but almost like a kind of like reality show at Bamber Castle, well, at Bebber, where it's like they're roommates and someone hasn't cleaned the dishes and someone didn't like do the laundry or something. That would be a lot of fun. But no, I think it's such a powerful show, and they ended it with that film on such an incredible note. So amazing that film is. Oh, it's mind blowing, and as well, there are a lot of new actors in the film, which I was just so in awe of them, because it's one thing coming into like season 2 or 3 of a show when it's already been going on, you feel a bit like, oh hi, but to come into like the last leg, that being the film, is such a massive thing, and they just smashed it. It was so moving, it was so thrilling and wild, and it felt like it was its own entity too. It was very different in some ways, which I actually quite appreciated, because it's even in a different medium. The fact that it's a film and not the series, so you only have up to 2 hours to explain all these storylines and go through all these themes. Whereas in the series, you have a good stretch of 10 eps to make sure everybody's storylines are covered. So I think they did an amazing job of packing in so much emotion and intensity and yeah, just epicness. It was epic.
Sure was.
So yes, but I wish it could carry on, of course. Yeah.
So it sounds like you really do love acting and filmmaking.
Oh, I do, Brian. I do, which is why I was like so excited when Lovely Pete approached me for Little Brown Bird, because I was like, oh my gosh, this kind of role and this kind of the themes and everything that Little Brown Bird explores is just everything that I love. So I was beyond excited, and yeah, it's really fun to be a young character actor, because I look up to people like Emma Thompson and Imelda Staunton and Kate Blanchett, people that can really just become something entirely different. And so when a character asks that of me, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like I really find that fun. So yes.
Now, do you know why they didn't do more seasons of The Last Kingdom?
I think it's just purely, certain shows they get to so much and they've sort of told the story. So it's kind of like, rather than dragging it out and creating, narratives that maybe don't exist, I think it's sometimes good to leave it on a high. And I think they really did. And it was nice that the film was just that last little kind of,
Mhm.
bit of, we're still here kind of thing. But I think they've just told such an incredible story, and also leaving it on, again, spoiler alert if no one's seen the film, but I'm sure everybody's seen the film, that's on the fan page. But in terms of the ending, him being left in a bit of a limbo, I think there's something very beautiful about leaving that up to the audience as to how that could have ended and, where he's supposed to go. I think it's really nice, because everybody has their own opinions on that kind of stuff. And yeah, and to be fair, it's all in all, it's been a decade of work. When I think about the writers and the producers and all that production side of stuff, how much it takes and how long it takes to produce something like that. I mean, a whole decade. So we're lucky enough that the show went on as long as it did. So it's gorgeous to have told the story in so many different avenues, for so long, and allowing these characters to completely develop and grow up in front of our eyes. I think is just a testament to, again, how amazing the production team are and the writers, and yeah, this amazing cast of actors.
Well, yeah, you're so right, and it's been a
Oh,
life changing show for me. There hasn't been a
right.
show like that that has like really grabbed me since the Highlander series back in the '90s.
Oh yeah, the Highlanders. I would have been a wee baby, but I do know the series you're talking about. I haven't watched it, but I know the one you're referring to.
We got some
Wow.
crazy cinema. So you recently did a film, and your
Mhm.
producer reached out to me and wanted to, share it in my group, and so I wanted to help promote him, and that's why one of the reasons we're doing this interview. So we've got Pete Rogers, who's the director, here with us as well,
Oh, yeah.
and so yeah, Pete, can you tell us a little bit about Little Brown Bird?
I can. It was a script I wrote during lockdown. I think, like a lot of people, particularly creative people, when you were shut in your house for a number of months, you suddenly think, "What am I doing with my life? Where am I going? What should I be doing?" And you kind of reevaluate a lot of things. And I'd always written. I've written other shorts before, and I've written comics as well. So I kind of was like, "Well, I'd really like to write and direct something myself." So I had an idea for a script, got myself some mentors who worked with me on the script, got it to a certain point, approached Dan, who's our producer, and kind of went, "Oh, do you think you know anyone that could direct this?" And he was like, "Well, the way you've described it to me, you should direct it yourself." And so that's kind of the journey we went on. And then somehow, like 3 years later, we've got this amazing cast, amazing crew, and we've been off to the Isle of Man and shot the film. And yeah, quite surreal to go from, "Oh, I'd really like to do this," and is it too late? As I'm getting older, like, will this still be something I could do, or has that boat kind of sailed? To suddenly being sat here now talking about the fact we're about to go into post production, start editing the film, and yeah, so it's I guess it's an elevated genre piece, but really it's a story about a father and daughter, and kind of um, what it's like to be a parent, what it's like to be a child that almost has to take on the role of a parent as your father gets older and gets unwell.
Now, did I hear right that this is what your first film you've directed?
It is. Well, I've done a bit of corporate film stuff earlier in my career, and I've done one animated music video for the band Deep Purple. Um,
That's not
so,
your first.
but other
Not
than
your
that,
first real.
so it's not. It's my first. I guess it's my first live action drama directing. But I was like, my formative years, I guess, were the '90s. So it's like things like people like Tarantino and stuff, and looking at people that basically write and direct. That was always my kind of goal. Really, was to work on my own stuff. So yeah, and I work in visual effects in my day job. So
Oh, okay.
I've worked on lots of other people's productions, including two other members of the Last Kingdom cast, actually,
Nice.
um, in the last few years. So yeah, it's just I've really enjoyed the last sort of 15 years of helping other people tell their stories. Really enjoyed it, but I just thought it'd be nice to tell one of my own.
So you're a tech guy then. That's cool.
I'm not at all, because I'm a producer. I have lots of people around me that are amazing at tech, but I don't come from a VFX background. Cool. I'm a writer that didn't quite ever break in as a writer, so I ended up kind of moving into production. So yeah, this is kind of me going full circle back to kind of where I started, really.
Well, then you're and my stories are similar because it was the lockdown and COVID too that finally made me like say, look, I've got to, and I turned a certain age, so I said like I gotta like finally get into this filmmaking because I've been trying to just make money to put on my own films, like you, like my own content, because I want to make like Bible story films, and I was like growing up in a little farm town, I was like, Hollywood's not gonna be down with that. Um, so I
Yeah,
didn't know how kind of easy it is to get into this. Like I've only been in it 2 years, and it's just like
no, very similar. Well, I'm from a rural kind of, literally lived in a row of 4 cottages in the middle of a field. Hence, a lot of my stories tend to be quite rural. Lived in Dorset, which is in Wessex, which is in itself quite spooky as well, from a Last Kingdom perspective. And you mentioned like Highland. Like growing up for me, the biggest show was Robin of Sherwood, which is an 80s kind of Robin Hood show, which John Rhys Davies was in as King Richard.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And then years later, I am actually secretly a massive Last Kingdom fan, and I haven't told Eliza this. I'll tell her now. So up until April, my ringtone was the Last Kingdom theme tune on my phone. However, I changed it because I thought that our first Zoom call, if my phone rang and it was the Last Kingdom theme, you'd be like, "Oh, it's a strange fanboy."
I would have loved that. I would have been doing it with you. Oh, Pete, you're adorable. Thank you for letting me know that. That is literally the sweetest thing ever. We would have both like fangirled about it together then, because I am a big fan of The Last Kingdom, which sounds weird because I'm in it, but I genuinely can see it from a fan's perspective, and like seeing the film of it, I was like then living as a pure fan because I didn't know what it was going to be about. I was like, whoa. So yeah, I totally get that. But Pete's writing and directing is so sensational, and I just loved all the themes that he drew upon. This sense of being a parent, even though you are yourself the child, and having to go through those transitions and shifts, and kind of losing someone you love so much. They're still there, but you've lost so much that makes them them. But what was so beautiful is that Pete captured all these gorgeous glimmers of where they could both see each other again, whether it be through a lovely song or saying something where all of a sudden it just switched John Rhys Davies' character to kind of be back in his world again. And it's so beautiful because those scenes, a bit like, within The Last Kingdom, those scenes are so gut-wrenchingly emotional, and the story is incredible. It goes in so many twists and turns, but what's so beautiful about it at the same time is it is about this father and daughter relationship that carries it through, and you really feel for these two characters and everything that they go through.
Awesome. So another question was, when you read the script, what were your first thoughts on the story and your character?
I just really loved the heart within the script, and I also loved what Pete just drew upon. Of there is a spookiness and a slight thriller aspect to the piece as well, which is so exciting and interesting and fabulous. And I just thought, gosh, it's so out there too, and I just love the character of Kate, because I think I saw a lot of myself in her, but also Lady Ellsworth. I saw sprinklings of this person who's got this sense of duty, and no matter what, she's not going to be shaken by anything. She has a goal, and that is to make sure her father is safe and happy, and that they are safe and happy, in this world that you then sort of see unfold within the piece. And it's gorgeous because that carries everything for her. That's her full motivation, but it's sometimes really, really hard. So you sort of see these lonely moments where she is solitary and she crumbles. And I just thought that was so gorgeously written, and it's really, really heartbreaking, but very touching. And of course, John Rhys Davies being involved, I was like, oh my goodness, this is seriously cool. He's incredible. And yeah, just, I think the script is really, really powerful, and it says a lot. It's a short film, but it's packed with so many incredible themes that I think a lot of people can resonate with.
Cool. So let's take a look at a behind the scenes clip from the film.
Mum's not here. It's me, Dad. It's Kate. There you go, Dad. That's it. There you go. It's okay, Dad. Everything's okay. There you are. That's it. That's it. It's okay. Come on, Dad. Let's get you over here. There you are. That's it. That's it. Oh, hush thee, my dove. Oh, hush thee, my rowan. Oh, hush thee,
So that was an interesting clip. Hey, Pete, tell us about the scene and where we find both the characters.
Yeah, I mean, this scene is from very early in the film. So Dad has kind of wandered off. So they've got this farm, and I think in his mind, he can go outside, he can do the work on the farm. But on his way to do that, he's kind of lost himself in his dementia and has kind of forgotten where he is and what he's supposed to be doing. So it's really the scene is the first time to see that connection between the characters, to see that what Kate has to deal with her father, but how much she loves him, how much she cares for him, how much she wants to make sure that he's okay. And also, you get to see various states of Dad. He goes from not really knowing where he is to being confused, to being looked after, to being lucid, to wanting to care for his daughter. And I think, a lot happens in a very short amount of time, which is important for me because it's hard enough, I think, with a feature, but when you're doing a short, if you don't believe the relationship between the characters, then it's very difficult to take. Usually you make a screenplay, usually you've got 10, 20 minutes to get that, build that relationship before you get into the meat of the story. But with a short, you've got, a couple of minutes, if that. It's such a small amount of runtime. So this scene was really important for me on the page, and even more important once we actually got to filming. And it was actually quite emotional to direct as much as I think it probably was to perform, because it was a mix of emotions of, because we shot this I think quite early in the process. It was like, at some point I just stand there thinking, I'm currently directing this scene that I've written with these amazing actors, and they're putting on a wonderful performance, and the emotion between the two, and I was like, and I was almost welling up, partially because of the experience, and secondly because I totally believe that relationship, and I was actually emotionally invested. And I thought, well, if I can be this emotionally invested in something I've written myself, then hopefully the audience will feel that even more so, coming to it without having written 23 versions of the script themselves.
That's awesome. All right, so Eliza, your character is obviously dealing with a lot in the scene. How do you prepare for a scene like that?
So yeah, so again, as Pete said, this was like, I think our first day, wasn't it, Pete? Like shooting, I just met John, and there I am. It's kind of, and obviously this is the behind the scenes, so it's going to look different when it's edited and everything like that. So this was us just getting in the mode of, Kate is a carer. She cares for her father. This is her day in, day out grind. No matter how hard it is, no matter how tough things get, no matter how emotional her father gets, she has to kind of keep a brave face. But sometimes even she can crumble. And what's so lovely is that they have a language, and that there's a beautiful song called The Little Brown Bird, which is the way she can get him to connect back to himself. It's like the rooting sound that allows him to kind of see his world again. So that's kind of just showing that that's that the kind of language that they get to speak together, which is really, really beautiful. So for that scene, I think it was just really, even though I'd just obviously met John, who is obviously the most sensational actor ever, is not hard for him just to be incredible. It was just like, oh my god, I need to really like look at this man. This is my father. This is I'm just thinking about the day in, day outness of it all. This is not just a one-off thing. But this particular day that this happens is a very, very special day, which you find out as the film goes on. But it's just thinking about what that character has gone through, layering it up, and just allowing it to pour out whatever that emotion could be. A lot of sadness, but the heartbreaking quality, I think, for me, was watching John looking really vulnerable, because that's something Pete said, is that the character of Kate's father often goes into a very childlike state, and he would kind of go into this almost like little ball of innocence and vulnerability, and you think, oh my gosh, that would break my heart naturally. So of course that just did all the work in a sense. And yeah, again, it's lovely to have these kind of moving scenes. We weren't even sure, like Pete and I were discussing on the day, we're thinking, how moving do we want it to be from the get-go? But it really, I think, worked in the sense that we already see that this is such a hardship, and what is heartbreaking is she keeps losing her father every day. She loses him every time she wakes up, and that's where the story really goes, in terms of that the love for each other still never leaves them, although they're met with losing one another all the time.
Wow. So this sounds like a really great movie. I can't wait to see it.
Oh.
Like, how can we see it, or how do you plan on distributing it? Or
That's a good question. So we're currently about to go into post production. So a couple of months after we shot. The plan is festival run initially, and then probably online. But we've currently got a crowdfunding campaign running just to help us get through the final stages and finish the film, which has got some amazing sort of perks available, depending on different levels that you give or donate. You can get a signed picture of Eliza from behind the scenes of the set. What else can you get? Let me just double check. You could, well, there's possible to come to the cast and crew screening as well here in Cardiff. And depending on which level, you also get a personal video thank you from me, which nobody really wants, but they might get one from Eliza as well, which I'm sure that everybody would want. So yeah, there's a few different things, but yes, we're trying to raise £6,000. We're on about 40% or so, I think, at the moment, and we've got, I think, depending when this goes out, about a week to go to pull those extra funds together, really, just to get the film finished, and hopefully that will all happen, and then should be in festivals by the end of this year. Yeah, I'm keen to kind of again to get it out to as many people as possible. Yes, some of the perks actually is you get a sneak preview online version before it goes to festivals. So by being one of the pledges, you do have a chance to hit the ground early and get to see the film before most people do.
all right, cool. Well,
I would just want to put it out there that it's such a gorgeous film, and I think everyone's going to see a different side as well to John Rhys Davies. Like, if you're a big fan of like Lord of the Rings and all of the epic work he's done too, he completely transforms, doesn't he, Pete? He becomes something I've never seen, you know. And I've grown up watching him in all kinds of movies, playing all kinds of incredible roles, and this one it's just touches upon again different facets to him, and he thoroughly enjoyed it as well because he got to delve into something brand new for a kind of brand new kind of character from a brand new perspective. And as well, like where we shot it was the Isle of Man, and it just that again added just this incredible atmosphere. We were on a real life farmhouse, and we had some really funny stories. We had the most amazing farmers that were living. Obviously, it was their house that we were using. Sal and John. Is it Sal and John? Did I get that right?
Sal and Paul.
Sal and Paul. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, Paul, I'm so sorry. We can edit that out. Sal and Paul, the lovely farmers that were running, obviously, not only their live farm, but the house that we were working in. It was incredible. Sometimes on like a little break, they would run in with like a live turkey, but that was one of their pets. They'd just be like, we have some pets, they're turkeys. And it was actually really, really funny. Do you remember, Pete, whenever you would say there's a dog in the show in our film as well, and her character is called Nessie, and she's an amazing character that she does her own cool stuff within the film, but the name of the actual dog is Jess, and every time Pete would say Jess to get Jess to come over to me to do like some parts of the scene, every time Pete said Jess, this turkey would go and he'd go, what? Is the turkey called Jess? Because then Pete would yell again, Jess. And we just found that hilarious that the turkey...
By the end of day 3, we knew it wasn't a coincidence. There was something very strange going on, definitely.
That turkey was called Jess. So,
but it was amazing. They literally moved out of their house to a teepee in the barn so that we could film in their house for 3 days. They were
surrounded by cows and everything, right, Pete? Like literally in like a storm. I think one night there was like rain all night, and like literally in the same barn as the cows.
And they'd be getting up to deliver calves and deliver lambs, and then the funny story happened. So because the story takes place on one day, the shortest day of the year, and it's over a short time period, we were constantly changing the clocks. Now, I didn't realise that the clock in the kitchen wasn't a prop clock. I thought it was a prop clock we brought in. So I was like, can you move the clock? So we moved the clock on. So Paul, the farmer, came back in from his tent, sat down to have his breakfast, and went, oh, I've got ages. I'm really early. I'm an hour early. I know. I'll read the paper. I'll go on Facebook for a bit. And then realised he was an hour late to go and tend to the animals. So I was very, very... But he found it funny, thankfully. But I was very apologetic after I realised that we'd actually changed the time of his real clock on a really important time of the year for them as well.
You don't have BTS footage of any of this, do you?
We have pictures of the turkeys for sure.
We
I think I have
definitely got
videos of the
pictures of
turkeys. And a big shout out to Paul and Sal for that.
Yeah,
And I think
they're
they loved
amazing.
being a part of the experience. Like they would come on set and go, "Oh my gosh, show us this," But we were just as inquisitive. Like, my character as Kate is a farmer. So Sal was like, I am a farmer myself. And she was showing me all the unbelievable things they do every single day at the earliest hours, and it's just wild stuff, even things that they're not even prepared for, for certain animals giving birth. They're like, well, we've never seen this kind of birth before, all kinds of things. And she was just telling me about it. So honestly, the two of them helped so tremendously with the creation again of the characters and allowing us into their world in every sense. It was seriously incredible. And then they loved seeing the filming side. They would sneak on and have a look at the monitors, and it was just a lovely, gorgeous experience like that we all shared. It was so amazing.
So after you raise the rest of the funds for the post production, and if it's successful enough in the film festival circuit, are you hoping that an investor will come along and want to do a feature or something, or maybe a series?
That's a very interesting question. I have been asked that before. I don't know. And I think where you talked about The Last Kingdom and like a story has a natural end, I don't know. I think if you tried to kind of take this short and I know other people that have made shorts, then made them into features and have tried to, I think there'd be so much padding. Like the story was written deliberately to know that there would be like a rise and fall, a twist, and it kind of works like that. What I'd be more interested in doing is a bit like an American Horror Story thing of going, what can we do next with the same people?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do next with the same cast, the same crew? Not necessarily the farmers, although they're lovely. But just go, let's do something different with the same group of people. Because as a first-time person, it was so important to get the right cast and crew because I was probably the least experienced person on the set, more or less, in some ways. So actually, you need to get the right people around you, and I can see now why you get people that you go, oh, they're always working with the same actors, or they're always working with the same crew, or that director always works with that cinematographer, and you can see why, because trust is a really important thing,
Yeah.
and creative work is kind of putting your soul, putting something out there. So you want people that are, going to work with you on stuff. So I don't know. I mean, having said that, if someone did come along and say that, I would probably end up saying yes. But I have got another rural horror.
Can't say no to that.
I have got a rural horror feature that I've kind of the synopsis ready to go. So I'm hoping that this will be we like that. What else have you got? And then I can go, well, here's a feature off the back of it, and then build on that.
That seems,
But I'm sure there'll be a
that
part
seems
for
to be
Eliza
how you
in
make
somewhere.
it as a producer, director, filmmaker.
And it's so exciting, yeah. And it's so wonderful to be a part of Little Brown Bird. So I want to say thank you to Pete for giving me the honor of being Kate, because it's just so wonderful. I just loved getting to play her. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Well, I think you got to get rolling, don't you, Eliza?
I actually have to go to a show.
Yeah.
I'm going to a show, so I'm like, oh my god! But yeah, I'm good. I'm good for another 2 minutes, absolutely.
Watching a show rather than being in a show, right?
Exactly. I'm more imagine I'm on stage and like, oh my god!
You guys have a great night, and
Thanks, Brian.
we'll see you next time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
So lovely to see you both. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.